Right now in South Korea, a disturbing and bizarre situation is actually unfolding right now. For decades, society relentlessly pounded the drum for happy families, especially telling men their lives were meaningless without a wife and kids. That deeply ingrained message was everywhere, in media, in conversations, in expectations. Now, those very same voices, the institutions that push this narrative, are suddenly scratching their heads, genuinely wondering if money truly cures loneliness. But here's the real kicker, the absolutely hilarious contradiction. A massive chunk of the population is out there, actively proving, with every lifestyle choice and every one they spend, that yes, it absolutely does. Enough, at least, to comfortably bypass the whole traditional family setup entirely. The grand promise of marriage and children has literally transformed into a cold, hard spreadsheet entry, where the crushing financial and emotional costs simply don't add up to the supposed benefits anymore. What's truly shocking is the sheer, unblinking hypocrisy of it all.
Wait, what's the actual problem here? Is it really just about money or something deeper?
That's a crucial question. Because the reason people are unanimously stunned is that this isn't just about simple personal choice. The core issue boils down to a brutal human psychological response to ruthless capitalist market dynamics. In this environment, absolutely everything, even the most intimate human connections, has been commodified, turned into a transaction. Individuals are aggressively fighting for their share of the financial pie, scrambling for every advantage. Korean women, and indeed many individuals across genders, have been meticulously conditioned to maximize their individual utility and ruthlessly minimize their perceived costs. What's almost impossible to believe is how normalized this thinking has become in what should be the most personal decisions of life.
So, it's not really about feminism, it's just cynical economics?
Exactly. The traditional marriage market, especially in a society as high pressure as Korea, has completely transformed into a complex, often cutthroat negotiation. A spouse is frequently seen as either a financial liability or a resource to be leveraged, rather than solely a partner for mutual emotional growth. The concept of marriage-related expenses, known as gyeohong biyong, isn't just about the cost of the wedding ceremony itself. It's about the lifetime financial commitment to a household, the significant investment in children, and potentially a spouse who might not contribute equally, or might even astonishingly become a burden on one's meticulously built life plan. The real twist that makes this even more unsettling is what happens when individuals, particularly women, observe the profound economic and personal sacrifices made by their married counterparts. We're talking about jarring career interruptions, taking on almost the entire, disproportionate burden of childcare, and the constant nagging financial strain that seems to stretch endlessly. They rationally and coldly conclude that the cost of traditional family formation far outweighs the benefit of mere societal approval, or some ephemeral, fleeting emotional connection that might not even materialize. This isn't some inherent flaw in Korean women's being, despite what some sensationalist headlines might claim. It's about how this hyper-competitive, financially driven society forces individuals into a position where self-preservation and personal financial optimization become paramount, turning romantic ideals into a harsh reality. What should be a deeply personal bond just turns into another cold, hard calculation in the capitalist marketplace.
But how did this intense focus on personal economic calculation become so pervasive in Korean society in the first place? It feels so extreme.
That's the critical clue we absolutely cannot miss. This environment stems from a deeply ingrained cultural emphasis on relentless competition and unwavering status, perfectly combined with an educational and economic system that rewards individual achievement above all else. From a surprisingly young age, Koreans are placed into a brutal, relentless competition for academic success. This funnel leads directly to prestigious universities, which then channel them into highly coveted jobs at large corporations. This entire process is incredibly individualistic. It's all about my grades, my resume, my salary. There's almost no room for collective or communal good when one's entire life trajectory is determined by individual cutthroat performance, pushing aside any notion of shared destiny. This constant, unyielding pressure fosters a mindset where personal financial security and relentless upward mobility are seen as the single most important things you can achieve. Culturally, concepts like jaji guanli, meaning self-management or taking meticulously good care of oneself, and nohu junbai, which translates to retirement preparation, are not just emphasized. They are heavily, almost religiously promoted as life's ultimate goals. These ideas often translate into a singular, unwavering focus on personal finances and continuous self-improvement, leaving little bandwidth for anything else. Marriage and family, in this stark context, are viewed almost exclusively through the lens of whether they enhance or detract from these individual, carefully constructed goals. When the cold, hard reality of marriage often involves sacrificing one's self-management due to intense childcare demands and significant financial outflow, and potentially jeopardizing one's retirement preparation through shared assets and unexpected expenses, it becomes an entirely rational economic decision to simply opt out.
I've been watching this for months, and I can tell you it's worse than what's being reported. The numbers, the implications, they're truly insane.
It's not just numbers, it's people making smart, calculated choices when society tried to tell them what to do. They took control of their own lives.
And what's almost impossible to believe is that this isn't unique to Korea. Other high-pressure capitalist societies show alarmingly similar trends, but the sheer intensity of the Korean system makes these calculations particularly stark, undeniable, and frankly quite terrifying. So here's the $1 million question: what happened when they got exactly what they asked for? The new Middle Ages got their financial freedom, their independent consumption, their meticulously planned self-care routines. But here's the truly delicious, albeit dark, irony: society is now scrambling, utterly flummoxed, to deal with the unforeseen and massive consequences of a demographic that is affluent, incredibly independent, and stubbornly single. The very notion that money can buy happiness, or you'll be lonely when you're old, is being directly challenged spectacularly by these individuals who are living proof. They are actively purchasing experiences, luxury goods, and high-end services, all specifically designed to mitigate loneliness and profoundly enhance their lives, proving the old adages wrong.
So all those dire warnings from the old guard were just completely wrong? They were basically lying?
But the real problem starts now. The backfire is multifaceted and hitting hard across every sector. A rapidly shrinking birth rate is threatening the entire social security and economic fabric of the nation, poised to unravel it. There are fewer and fewer young people to support a growing elderly population, creating an unprecedented demographic crisis. The traditional support networks for the elderly, once heavily reliant on filial piety and large multi-generational families, are dissolving at an alarming rate. This leads to an increasing demand for professional care services and even, get this, companion robots, all of which ironically require the very money these singles are meticulously accumulating, further validating their initial choices.
They always said we needed to sacrifice our desires for the greater good, for the future of the nation.
And we sacrifice the traditional future for our own better future. And it's not just better, it's financially solid and personally fulfilling.
The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering. Those who once condemned single life as pitiful, selfish, or a failed existence are now faced with a generation actively demonstrating that it can be a perfectly viable, and in many cases, a far superior option for personal fulfillment. Especially, and this is the core takeaway, when coupled with significant financial power and the freedom it buys. What's almost impossible to believe is that the cold logic of capitalism has indeed come back to deliver a harsh, undeniable lesson, punishing these naive, contradictory demands with brutal, unforgiving efficiency. By inadvertently pushing individuals to prioritize economic stability and personal gain above all else, society unwittingly created a generation that applies the exact same ruthless calculus to marriage and family. Ultimately, they opted for the path that maximizes their personal return on investment, which for many is a life unencumbered by traditional family obligations. And now the colossal bill for this massive societal shift is coming due for everyone, from the top of government to the smallest family unit. Fuel the truth at Dating in Korea. Support the structure. Stay safe in the lounge.